everyone. I'm Storm Team 9 meteorologist Jerry Jackson. Welcome to Weather or Not. Now, you may be wondering what all of this is about. Well, we're going to talk about weather, but not in the way you're thinking. You see, there's far more to weather than maps and radar. Weather is intertwined in nature, entertainment, sports, fashion, even cuisine. And we're going to explore weather in ways that you probably never considered. And along the way, we'll take a trip back in history to storms you didn't even know existed. Each week, we'll add new content, stories, fun facts, little-known destinations and adventures for you to take, and trivia, lots of trivia for you to play and test your knowledge. Even if you think you know everything there is to know about weather, we'll still surprise you. So sit back, relax, and see weather in a whole new way. And if you can't make it outside to enjoy the weather in person, no problem. Meteorologist Christopher Tyndall will take you to the great outdoors.
As spring arrives, more creatures begin to move around, including pesky moles. There are 3 different species in North Carolina: the eastern, the hairy-tailed, and the star-nosed mole. Star-nosed moles are the easiest to distinguish thanks to the 22 finger-like structures around their nose. In fact, it is said to be one of the strangest looking creatures in our state. However, this species is by far the least common. Star-nosed moles can be found mostly in the mountains, but also around some wetlands in the coastal plain region. Hence their name. The hairy-tailed mole can be recognized by their furry tails, but you likely won't find them in the east as they are only found in the mountains. The most common mole species in the state is the eastern mole. These moles can be found all across the Piedmont, coastal plains, and even some areas on the Outer Banks. Moles tend to favor loose, sandy soils, which make for easy digging. As you may know, they have very poor eyesight but can see some in the dark. They have very small eyes which are covered by a thin layer of skin and fur. Moles use their incredible sense of smell and touch to navigate through the dirt searching for food. They feed mainly on grubs and earthworms, digging near surface tunnels and deep underground tunnels. As frustrating as moles can be, they do help with water drainage and aerating your lawn. So you might want to think twice before you go and whack a mole. In the studio, I'm meteorologist Christopher Tyndall, Storm Team 9.
When you think about weather, you think about sky conditions, partly cloudy, mostly sunny, and so on. Weather affects you, and that's even more true of the wildlife around you.
It's that time of year when we start to see more and more honeybees. And when you think of honeybees, you can't help but think of that sweet honey they make. But have you ever wondered how these busy insects make that honey? If so, then you're in for a treat. Honeybees only need one ingredient to make honey, and that ingredient is nectar. Barry Jones, founding member of the Duplin County Beekeepers Association, says that the interesting anatomy of honeybees plays a big role in the process.
When they go to a flower, they put the nectar in a honey stomach. It's a special stomach. And the real stomach's right behind it, and there's a valve between it. If she gets hungry on her way back home, she can let a little bit of that nectar go into her regular stomach.
After transporting it back to the nest, the nectar gets passed down the assembly line, so to speak.
So when she gets to the hive, she passes it off to a hive bee. Well, in the process, it goes back through her mouth, and there's an enzyme that's mixed in with the nectar. It's called invertase.
After it gets deposited into an empty cell, other bees will continue to work on the soon-to-be honey, making sure it's perfect.
Like I said, when she passes it off to a hive bee, the hive bee will deposit it in an empty cell, or maybe one that's already got some nectar in it. And another bee will sit there and fan it and evaporate the moisture out to 18.6% moisture. And they know exactly when it gets right.
The reason bees make honey is so that they can survive the winter. But how does the honey stay preserved for that long?
When that's observed by the bees, they cap it off, and that's like putting a can of tomatoes in the pantry and saving it for winter. That's the way they get through the year.
So the next time you eat some honey, just take a minute to think about the process that went into making that sweet substance.
A meteorologist studies weather. A meteoriticist studies meteors. But you don't have to be either to be interested in space.
Saturn is the 6th planet from the Sun and the 2nd largest planet in our solar system. It's a massive ball made mostly of hydrogen and helium. It is the furthest planet from Earth discovered by the unaided human eye. Now, it's not the only planet to have rings, but none are as spectacular or complex as Saturn's. It also has dozens of moons. Saturn's environment is not conducive to life as we know it. The temperatures, pressure, and materials that characterize this planet are most likely too extreme and volatile for organisms to adapt to. While the planet is an unlikely place for living things to take hold, the same is not true of some of its many moons. Satellites like Titan, home to internal oceans, could possibly support life. With an equatorial diameter of almost 75,000 miles, Saturn is 9 times wider than Earth. If Earth was the size of a nickel, Saturn would be as big as a volleyball. For an average distance of 886 million miles, Saturn is 9.5 astronomical units away from the Sun. 1 astronomical unit is the distance from Sun to Earth. From this distance, it takes sunlight 80 minutes to travel from the Sun to Saturn. Saturn has the 2nd shortest day in our solar system. 1 day on Saturn takes only 10.7 hours, and Saturn makes a complete orbit around the Sun in about 29.4 Earth days. Its axis is tilted by 26.73 degrees with respect to its orbit around the Sun, which is similar to our 23.5-degree tilt on Earth. So like Earth, Saturn experiences seasons. Each of Saturn's moons tells another piece of the story surrounding Saturn's system. As of June 8, 2023, Saturn has 146 moons in its orbit, while others continually waiting confirmation of their discovery. Saturn's rings are thought to be pieces of comets, asteroids, or shattered moons that broke up before they reached the planet, torn apart by Saturn's powerful gravity. They are made of billions of small chunks of ice and rock coated with other materials such as dust. The ring particles are as large as mountains. The rings would look mostly white if you looked at them from the cloud tops of Saturn, and each ring orbits at a different speed around the planet. Saturn's ring system extended up to 175,000 miles from the planet, yet the vertical height is typically 30 feet in the main rings. Like Jupiter, Saturn is made mostly of hydrogen and helium. At Saturn's center is a dense core of metals like iron and nickel, surrounded by rocky material and other compounds solidified by intense pressure and heat. As a gas giant, Saturn doesn't have a true surface. The planet is mostly swirling gases and liquids deeper down. While a spacecraft would have nowhere to land on Saturn, it wouldn't be able to fly through unscathed either. The extreme pressure and temperatures deep inside the planet would crush, melt, and vaporize any spacecraft trying to fly into it.
Now, we've been talking about weather so much ourselves, it's about time we give you a chance to test your knowledge. How about some trivia? 2 minutes, 8 questions. Good luck. check out the forecast on TV or online. It's usually presented by a broadcast meteorologist. But have you ever wondered what it's like to be one?
You may have seen the logo and heard the name, but let's talk about what Skywarn is and how you can become a part of this program. Skywarn is a volunteer storm spotter program with nearly 400,000 trained spotters. The Skywarn program was established in the 1970s while remote weather sensing technologies like radar were still in their early stages. Volunteers help keep local communities safe by reporting prompt and accurate information to the National Weather Service. While Skywarn spotters help with all types of weather, the program is directed mainly towards severe weather. During a severe weather event, trained spotters can contact their local National Weather Service office directly and tell them about an ongoing situation. This will give the meteorologists boots on the ground insight as to what kind of hazards they need to issue warnings for. It also helps determine the location and severity of a particular storm. While it's true the general public can report damage and ongoing weather types, the information delivered by a trained weather spotter carries a little more weight. People with interest in public service are encouraged to join the Skywarn program. This includes anyone in emergency services, utility workers, and people involved with schools, hospitals, and churches. Amateur radio operators can also become Skywarn spotters, as many local forecast offices have a ham radio. Radio operators can relay their reports to the local office via the appropriate repeaters. But it's not limited to just those people. Even private citizens with a special concern of weather can become a Skywarn spotter. The training is free of charge and only takes a couple of hours to complete. During the training, you will learn about different types of weather hazards, what to look for in particular, and also how to report your observations to the local National Weather Service office. Training can be completed online or in person at a local class. Some offices urge you to take a local class to learn more about the weather specifically for your area. During an average year, the United States receives over 10,000 severe thunderstorms, about 5,000 floods, and over 1,000 tornadoes. Skywarn spotters help report all of this information. Without this dedicated community, meteorologists are relying solely on computers for weather monitoring.
Of course, adults are not the only ones interested in careers in meteorology. Weather kid this week is Chad. It's sometimes difficult to find kids that actually like school, but Chad really enjoys math.
Addition and subtraction.
Addition and subtraction. He better know a thing or two about numbers. He has plans to be a baseball coach one day.
Baseball coach.
Baseball coach, okay. Why do you want to do that?
Because I want to help people.
Chad also has an interest in automobiles and enjoys helping in the repair work.
Loving it.
Working what? I don't know anything about cars. So what were you doing?
It.
Revving it? How did you do that?
Yes.
When it was time to talk weather, Chad was quick to pick it up.
This is the font and make rain. 79, 80, 75, Greenbelt, Kensington, Goldsboro.
Chad did a nice job with his performance and shows us that you can start an interest in science at a very young age. Now, if your child would like to become a Storm Team 9 weather kid, send me an email to jjackson@WNCT.com and I'll explain the process. For the Storm Team 9 weather kids, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jerry Jackson. Class dismissed. It's always nice to meet our young guests in the studio, but sometimes we introduce new faces behind the anchor desk. And every now and then, familiar faces come to new places.
Our staff spotlight for this week is Jeffrey Roberts. Jeffrey, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Jeffrey was started off as our weekend morning anchor. That's who I've been working with, and he just got promoted to weekday morning anchor. So
Yay!
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's talk everything weather.
Yeah, definitely.
Jeffrey, you're originally from Arizona, correct?
I am.
Now, I'm from the Northeast, so we're both not from Eastern North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
In what ways is the weather different in Arizona compared to here?
Well, it is a lot hotter than it is out there. I mean, triple digits usually like a lot of the year. And it's also like everybody says it's a dry heat. So yeah, I understand that. When I first moved here, a lot of people said, oh, you'll get used to the humidity. I got to tell you, I still haven't gotten used to it.
It's definitely something that I'm adjusting to as well. Now, is there any weather events that you know of at home or here that are memorable?
Definitely the snow days we had here in Eastern North Carolina. Oh my goodness, that was a whole event. It doesn't snow that much in Tucson at least, but I mean, that was a whole experience.
So we were talking about it earlier. You said that you didn't have anything to scrape off the snow from off your car.
Yes.
Now, what did you use in situations like this?
So I went into the kitchen and I used my broom because, I mean, I didn't have anything else, but I mean, it worked just as well, but I probably looked a little silly, like pulling the snow off of it with the broom. But yeah, if you don't have a snow shovel, a broom works really well.
Okay, that's good to know. A broom if you don't have a snow shovel. Now, it rains here a lot compared to at home, I'm assuming.
It does.
Same for me. It definitely rains a lot more here. Now, that typical summertime pattern that we talk about here in Eastern North Carolina, how do you adjust to the rain compared to at home where it's just dry and quiet?
Well, I actually do love when it rains. It doesn't rain as often as it does in Tucson, but I mean, we do have something called the monsoon where it's just raining all the time, and we get some pretty cool downpours out there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I love the smell of rain.
Let's take a drive to the Rocky Mount Mills. For 200 years, the site of the mills has been defining features of community's natural and built environment. Established on the Tar River in 1818, it has reinvented itself time and time again. With history of the state's coastal plains as enacted as a riverine resource for American Indians, early European settlers, as a site of industrial slave labors, as a nexus of plantation cotton production, as one of the largest textile operations in the state, as a racially segregated mill community, and as the site of an important civil rights victory, and since 1996, as a shuttered reminder of the collapse of the state's most important industry for more than a century. Now, with all its history, it's home to apartments and offices, breweries, restaurants, and a coffee shop, and more. It's a great place to walk around and visit and explore what it has to offer. I'm Storm Team 9 meteorologist Olivia Monteleone. See you next week for our next adventure.
Our local waterways are full of surprises with a wide variety of scenery and wildlife.
The three main types of rocks are igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. They are defined by how they form, either through cooling magma, accumulating sediment, or intense heat and pressure altering existing rocks. A continuous process known as the rock cycle. Igneous rocks. These rocks form from the cooling and solidification of molten rock. They form when hot liquid rocks cool down. It crystallizes and hardens. There are two types of igneous rocks, intrusive and extrusive. Intrusive rocks form inside the earth. Because it cools slowly, crystals have time to grow large, like granite. Extrusive rocks form on the surface from lava. It cools quickly, resulting in very small crystals or a glassy texture, like obsidian. Sedimentary rocks. These rocks form from the accumulation and cementation of particles. Weathering and erosion break down existing rocks into sand, mud, or pebbles. These fragments settle in layers, usually in water, and over time are compacted and cemented together. There are different types of sedimentary rocks. Clastic is made from pieces of other rocks like sandstone. Organic is formed from the remains of plants or animals like coal or limestone. And chemical is formed when minerals precipitate out of water like rock salt. Metamorphic rocks. These rocks form when existing rocks, igneous, sedimentary, or another metamorphic rock, are changed by immense heat and pressure. Deep underground, high temperatures and pressure physically or chemically change the rock's minerals without melting it. There are different types of metamorphic rocks. Foliated rocks have a layered or banded appearance caused by pressure, and non-foliated rocks are layered without bands, usually forming from intense heat, like marble quartz. These rocks are constantly shifting between these states by the rock cycle, driven by tectonics, weathering, and heat from the Earth's interior.
Well, that just about does it for this week's edition of Weather or Not. As you probably learned by now, you never know what you're going to see on this show or who you're going to meet. We try to keep it fresh for you every week with new episodes and new content. And remember, we change with the seasons too. I can't wait to show you what we have lined up later this year for Christmas and even beyond into spring. So make sure you catch a new episode whenever it drops. And remember, our goal is to keep you informed, enlightened, and hopefully a little happier. I'm Storm Team 9 Chief Meteorologist Jerry Jackson. Thank you for joining us for Weather or Not.